We'll call the meeting to order at 7:37. And on the consent agenda today, we have the approval of the May 14th EDA minutes and claims for payment of $996. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? BRNE program. Do you have any in the last month?
I don't know.
I don't remember seeing any emails about any.
I know we're trying to get some new ones scheduled, but no, I don't think we have.
No, I think we've picked through a lot of the low-hanging fruits, and now it's a lot of the people that either haven't had one or they're just so busy it's tough to get in there. So certainly continue trying to schedule those just to stay on top of things.
All right. Business updates.
Yes, I have a few updates for the business update. So we didn't have any new home permits issued in May, so we've got one single-family home for the year. We obviously had the 54-unit apartment building. They are actively sheetrocking the interior of that building, making really good progress, and they're still on schedule to open sometime in October. So that's a good positive. We did get a building permit applied for by Amcon Construction for a 20,000 square foot addition to Great River Energy. Basically what they're doing is expanding a portion of their office building, as well as some inside warehouse area. So what they explained that they have going on is they largely run field personnel out of their location in the industrial park. And a lot of them were driving their trucks in the building and then kind of officing out of their truck within the building. So the office addition allows that staff group that's working out of their truck to have an actual office in the building. And there already were some in there, but it's just expanding that area. And then obviously more secure internal storage. And they also will be expanding their laydown area, which is the fenced in gravel area back there too. So good project.
Are they taxable or?
What's that?
Are they taxable, property taxes?
Yes, they are.
They are, okay, I didn't know.
So that's a good project out there. We did get a building permit applied for and actually issued for the police station, and I won't get into any more details about that.
Oh, we're building a
Josh
police
really wants
station?
to. What's that?
We're building a police station?
Yeah, maybe.
I hadn't heard anything. Oh.
Police station, clubhouse, city hall, it works.
I heard it was Taj Mahal, so.
So anyway, that's actively underway. The Lamakia Group applied for a variance, and this is for a new Heartland Credit Union building over on would be the northeast lot of New Prague Commons in front of Coburn's. They would be moving out of the strip mall into that location that'll open the strip mall end cap with a drive-through up. So the variance will be reviewed here at the June Planning Commission meeting. Basically what they're looking to do is have a variance to allow the drive-through lane and a speaker to be facing Main Street versus our code normally requires it the other way. So if you look at like McDonald's, that's why McDonald's order board is actually closer to the internal portion, but it kind of had a double kind of drive through it almost twice to get through. They didn't want that. They don't feel they have the queue line space need that, so they want to keep the building with that drive-through speaker. The issue is that it's just kind of the ugly portion of the building that would be facing Main Street. So kind of working with them to pretty it up a little bit and landscape it. And so I think it looks okay. I'm not super thrilled with it, but we'll see how that turns out with the Planning Commission and Council. And then finally the POPS facility downtown there, that grading is mostly complete out there. I think they're done in the next week and a half roughly. And then they do have out for proposals for the construction for the facility, and they hope to be under construction by August 15th. And then that'll take into the spring of 2026 to have that facility completed. So that's should be looking a lot better by fall down there. So that's all I have.
Is there still another credit union on the Witt property?
Yeah, so South Point Credit Union owns the land directly south of Scooter's Coffee, and We have not seen an actual building permit from them at this point, so I don't know what their timeline is, but they did buy the lot and they do own
Oh, it
so-
is, so it's, a real, it's,
Yes, they actually do own the property, so I would assume they will follow through, but no building permit applied for yet,
It's immediately adjacent.
immediately. Yep.
where are they out of, or, I'm not familiar with them.
I don't know, I've never heard of South Point.
Have you guys?
They're the product of several credit unions that have joined and merged over the years. I forget what the original one was.
Do they have
got one
a
down in
presence in the area? or-
I wanna say South Metro on the east side, St. Paul, I wanna say.
I'm just surprised.
I thought they were more.
Would bring
south
'em
of
here,
Minnesota,
but-
That's just what we need is another credit union in town.
Talk
How about
about
another
banker.
quick trip?
Personally, I'd take another Quick Trip over a credit union.
All right, we'll move on to the CDA update. No Joe today. Anything else to add there?
Joe did pass along information for a broker event on the 18th. Certainly, I will be forwarding that invite to all of your email addresses. She said you are all invited to attend if you wish, but is for the Scott County A Sure Bet event taking place up at Canterbury Park, which kind of looks like they call it a chance for the stakeholders, including brokers, developers, sponsors from the business community and local communities to kind of network and learn about opportunities that exist within Scott County. So
I've gone to a couple of those in the past, very, Shakopee focused is what you'll find most of it to
Yeah.
be, which makes sense, I mean.
So I'll forward that information on to you guys, but there's no requirements to go, but we are certainly invited. So other than that, I don't really have any other CD updates unless you do.
All right, I don't see any representation from the school district. Anything else to add there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
All right,
Then it's on to me.
on to the executive director.
Yeah, just a few things. So as we kind of get into this strategic planning process, I know a lot of things that the EDA has to do needs to involve being part of an economic development district. Been kind of working with the city attorney's office to see. I'm assuming we have one because we've done things like the industrial park, which would require it, but short of finding those documents, we have had some annexations. And so I did discuss with the city attorney, it may be a good idea just to kind of refresh, per se, our economic development district in the meantime. And so, as an FYI, I will be putting on our agenda for July a public hearing, just to hold that required public hearing to blanket the whole city as an economic development district that would allow us to do stuff. That kind of rolls into my second update, piggybacking off of the police station comment. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, City Council is going through a building of a police station. With that process, there are multiple funding options available. The one they're going through right now, the CIP bonding, does basically is held by the City Council, performed by the City Council. Does tend to get the city the best possible rates. It does include the public hearing that we have held. It also includes the ability for a reverse referendum by petition if possible. There is a second bonding funding option called a lease revenue bond, where generally a different entity would hold the facility in ownership and then lease it back to the city. That particular option doesn't include public hearings. It doesn't include reverse referendum possibilities, but it does usually end up with a slightly higher interest rate, anywhere from, I've heard, 1/10 to, I suppose, a 0.5%, depending on where markets are at in any given day. So the reason I bring this up is there's always the possibility for City Council could shift gears and not want to do the CIP bonds anymore and shift to a different funding mechanism, in this term the lease revenue, and it could ask the EDA to potentially hold the building in ownership and then lease it back to the city for what would be the bond payment. For this to happen, my understanding is that the building would have to be within an EDA district. And so, knocking out that public hearing would potentially cover that if for some reason we can't find the documents, which again, Ken and I are sure they're out there, we just can't seem to find them somewhere signifying that. So I'm not saying it will happen, but there may come a point in the next month or so, it's possible the city council could ask the EDA to act on holding this building and move forward from there. So I can certainly stand for any questions you have. I know in terms of police station stuff, if you have questions, we do have out on the website now, if you go into the Dropbox of, I believe it's departments, under the police station department, there are some fact sheets and elevations and layouts and tax impacts. And so if you know your house is valued at $350,000, I can tell you that right now, under current estimates, what it would cost the police station would cost you, would raise your taxes roughly $180, which is like $15 a month. So,
Has there, to our knowledge, has the city done an arrangement like that where another city entity did this arrangement? Just for an example.
I don't know if Bruce or Ken remembers one. I know that we will be actually entering into this sort of arrangement when the utilities builds a new substation here, or I guess generation facility in the next few years, where it'll be a lease revenue bond supported by our power supplier, Simpa. Will basically be making the payment for us as we own it, and then it'll come off the books after 20 years. So
I don't feel this is the same, but I feel like we were the pass-through entity for the ice rink.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are similarities in our history of this, but I don't know if it's exact. But the EDA was the fiscal agent for the community center and actually did borrow the money for the community center, was also the fiscal agent that was able to receive the Mighty Ducks grant. So, and as you guys all know, a lot of that project was financed through donations too. So, but EDA was the one that did it, and then basically, you know, the technicalities I don't remember, but somehow then it was the operating part of it was transferred to the community center corporation, and then years later, the deal was refinanced through the city, and the city took ownership of the land from the EDA, and the city refinanced the debt through a bond, and I think it's been paid off a few years ago. So there's been gymnastics like that before. Some of you might remember that fire department, that whole parcel of land, including where we have the park department now, was all EDA property. And the EDA managed that property and the buildings, and eventually sold off parts of it. But anyway, then that was transferred to the city when the fire department won. So there's been things like that for economic development purposes in the past.
It doesn't sound exactly like this.
And yeah, I don't know if it's exactly like that, but
It would be more similar to the community center scenario.
this is one of those tools that the state legislature has set up to allow for local governments, cities, counties as another financing arm, I guess, if you will. So
When would you, for timing purposes, just out of curiosity, so if we have this public hearing in July, is it something that the same day we might need to do this, just out of curiosity, or are we looking in the future?
It would really depend on the city council. Like I said, it's possible that the city council never goes down this path. It's possible that they ask the EDA to do this, and so by doing that, that probably would push it either to the same day or afterwards.
I just didn't know if we needed another meeting or.
Well, until, like I said, you'd have, if we are unable to officially find these documents, which would, again, I'd be surprised if we couldn't, if we're unable to find those, you'd have to have that required public hearing to establish the EDA district in the first place.
Is there any reason why this would be a horrible idea for the EDA to do this?
I guess, so when it comes down to it, because I had somebody ask me once, well, what happens if the city leaves the EDA hanging and doesn't make their payment? Well, the city is the ultimate taxing authority anyway, and it falls back, like.
Yeah, if we all just walk away, you're left with.
If for some reason we make the payment to Nick and Nick decides to take the money and run to Mexico, the city still has to make that payment, so.
Still the city.
With the EDA really being an arm of the city, like, it's really just another city function at that point. But,
I would think that, because we have to give notice of a hearing for the district.
that's correct, yeah, I was gonna work with, probably Scott this week and just on getting that notice put together so we can advertise for that July 9th meeting. For, like I said, whether the police station's involved or not, to make sure that whatever the EDA decides to do coming out of the strategic planning process, that they have that available to them.
I mean, regardless is not a word, I guess, but regardless of what, the police station, it's in our best interest, I think, to do it anyway. There's other conceptual things we could do, the city center area. We're eventually gonna be selling that parcel. That's my understanding, the goal of that. So there could be conceivably places to try to, that the EDA may be involved in trying and providing an incentive depending upon what we would want to do there, so.
Yeah, say that, or the mill, or if EDA wants to get involved with another property, we'd need this EDA district in place.
Right. I don't know that we need it for, I was trying to think of a chart, we didn't use it there, but.
See, I don't know if it's necessarily needed for like a TIF or tax abatement type situation. But, which I believe is what you guys do with the chart, correct?
Yes.
Yep. What does that district allow us to do that we currently can't do?
Like, I think that district basically allows for the sale, or the purchasing of property to do stuff on. And so if like the EDA wanted to acquire property, let's say the EDA decided it wanted to buy the mill, and do some sort of development project there, my understanding is it would need this district,
Oh, interesting.
that sort of situation.
So would you either do,
And that's why I assume that we have one in place. I know talking to the city attorney, he goes, they usually at this point just tell people, when you establish it for the entirety of city limits instead of just a single parcel. That way you're not constantly having to do it over and over again.
that was gonna be what I was
So he
gonna
goes,
ask.
his exact words were, I'd be surprised if you don't have one in place, but we need to find that documentation just in case.
Did we do that for the last business park?
That's when I believe it came up. That's why we're
Yeah, I
kind
was
of
gonna
like,
say, that would be the last thing, yeah.
it's like, we must have that, but
Huh.
we're having a hard time nailing down, okay, where's the actual documents that?
So otherwise, if you don't have that, you have to do a public hearing per property you wanted to buy? Is that
Yeah.
the other alternative?
Yeah, so either you establish for the whole city and just take care of it once, and then maybe update it every so often to include newly annexed land, or you're doing it for every single property and establishing little individual EDA districts.
Gotcha.
Are you limited to the city limits, or is it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because, we don't really have authority. I don't know if we could like name the state of Minnesota as New Craig's EDA limits. We could try.
I say go for it.
Go big.
Go big?
Let's buy some stuff.
So, yeah, if you certainly have any questions about that,
The
let me
county is a
know.
little
As
more.
I said, if you have questions on the police station, there's documents now on the website, or you can get a hold of myself and we can certainly talk through stuff.
I'm glad to see you're doing that, because the one thing that I think has been a huge issue, not just with some of the things both the city, school district as well as dealing with, is absent the actual organizations that are making the financial decisions, putting out information, there seems to be no other reliable information source in the community.
I guess along those lines, if you look at the information and you have a question, let me know. That is a document that I'm always willing to update with additional information as it's come out. So far to the fact of, I had somebody ask me, well, how does that compare to the fire station? And so I've got
Yeah.
comparable numbers that if you track construction inflation from the fire station to now, they're actually about the same cost.
I just can't grasp why our local paper would be publishing people's comments at city council meetings saying this facility costs X dollars when it's not even an accurate number, and not take the steps to go back and do their job in reporting and actually say, so-and-so said X cost $10 million. In reality, it was actually $14 million. They just present anything anybody shows up and says as fact. So you wind up with these numbers circulating in the general population because that is a trusted source. And it just creates so much havoc in trying to even discuss these issues with people, because the whole concept or the whole position that they're anchored on isn't correct from the start. Anyway.
Journalism is
Put my
dead.
soapbox away.
Anything else, Brent?
Nope. Plenty, but I'll stop there.
In full disclosure, being on the city council, I would be, my personal opinion is that I would be looking at pursuing this route to finance it, so.
Okay. Makes sense.
Alright, any other miscellaneous items?
Oh, I guess I can throw some miscellaneous too. I know Ken mentioned it, we're basically running out of lots, we're hoping that something clicks here. I know from a staff perspective, we don't or can't mention certain things, but, there's certainly chatter we have heard on the backside, and, hopefully something will actually take enough of a bite here. We know we've got multiple people sniffing around in multiple types of housing, and so, obviously at some point something has to catch, and we're just hoping it catches sooner than later, so. Did we talk about rate studies? Are we going through that?
Yeah, it's kind of a big one. If you remember last fall, we completed the comprehensive plan. Along with that, around the same time, we got completed with the feasibility study for the sanitary sewer build out for the whole city. One of the follow-up items for that was we needed to, for development purposes, have a area charge developed from a developer. Let's say comes in and wants to develop a raw piece of farmland. We've had an area charge for water that the developer pays. We've never had that for sewer. And we are, within the next few weeks, gonna have a study completed on what the area charge for sewer should be that a developer pays. Right now, it all goes on the person buying the home, which is, argue the fairness of that, but the developer is basically saving that money, and it's going all on the end purchaser. So we're gonna have an area charge developed for sewer shortly, so that'll kind of help put a little bit on the front end and then a little bit on the back end. So that's been a long time coming.
Okay, and I think that's all we got.
On the strategic planning, what's the timeline on that project, or where, I mean,
Yeah, so.
I forget, do we get a copy of that? I forget, did we get a copy of that, what he did last time, or the initial deal?
I think we do. I'll check. I thought I sent that out, but
You might have
I'll certainly check on
emailed
that.
But
But,
I don't know if I
what's
got
the-
yeah, so
I don't
timeline,
think
we
I got
actually
that.
just talked to them last week. They were busy with, was it EDM this
Yeah,
week?
EDM conference.
They're out presenting and, being big players in the economic development game, so they couldn't be at this meeting. But they will be at, their plan is to be at the next EDA meeting to, kind of talk through what you guys have as goals, have an internal conversation, and then to schedule the joint city council meeting, to talk and have that kind of, this is where the EDA is looking. What does the city council think about this meeting, shortly thereafter? Kind of go from there. So that's kind of the, we talked through, well, do we have that meeting first and foremost? Or do we have the joint city council meeting first, or do we have the EDA kind of discuss of where it wants to go? And it kind of landed on, well, short of getting into a city council meeting and then just having a spitfire session of goals, maybe if the EDA was able to come together, and these are some of the things that we'd like to do. That way, once we get to the joint city council meeting, we've got something to talk about, and put in front of the city council. Kind of landed on that, so
So at the next meeting, are they gonna work with us to develop goals, or are we
Yes.
trying to tell them
So-
what the goals are, and they're gonna?
So yeah, you certainly mull it around in your brain of what you think goals may be, but they're planning on working with the city council, or working with the EDA to help kind of flesh out and develop those. That is what their specialty is, of facilitating these meetings and figuring out how to get into the deep recesses of our brains that we didn't know existed.
If they have any handouts or something, if you could ask them to get it to you in plenty of time.
Yeah.
So we're not.
And
come prepared instead of.
when we talked about doing it at this meeting, until they had this Edom thing, and so we could probably, I'm sure they've got something, but yeah, I'll talk to them.
And then I was just gonna mention, if you're not aware, that we do have a new mayor that's starting next week. And it would be, I think the mayor is an actual member of this.
Correct, yeah, so
meeting,
for July, he should be here.
So Chuck will be attending, or hopefully attending next meeting.
He was the mayor from 2010 to 2020.
Hoping for a fresh face, but I guess we'll take him
Well, you didn't apply.
next time.
Were there any other, it was just Chuck, right? There were no other applicants?
So, I mean, at this point, the city council, so under the city charter, it basically just calls out the city council to appoint someone. It doesn't call out a process for how to do it.
Gotcha.
The city council kind of, and Bruce can correct me if I'm wrong, kind of landed on, hey, let's reach out to Chuck. He was a former mayor. He knows how to sail the ship because he did it for 10 years.
Yep.
Didn't leave under any crazy controversy or something. So let's reach out to Chuck and see if he's interested in just helping the ship sail for the next year and a half until the next election. And if he's not interested, then we'll look at opening it up and seeing what else could be out there. But that was kind of the impression I got from the city council, and so that's how they rolled. And Chuck said he'd be willing to take the oars. So
Row the boat.
That'll be
That's all.
helpful from a continuity standpoint.
Yeah, we got good citizens here.
All right, do we close the regular meeting before we move to the special?
yeah. So yeah, that way we have to record the special as a closed meeting. And
All right, so I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?